Hi everyone, welcome to your latest planning outlook. This updated on Tuesday the 24th of November. Now something a little bit different in the forecast as we get higher pressure build in through the middle of this week. Some quieter weather patterns, and at this time of year quite typically that goes into frost and fog. At least for a few days we'll see much lighter winds and very little in terms of precipitation, maybe just a few bits and pieces around from day to day. Now, the first part of that change developing during Wednesday as we see a front finally moving southeastward. Still a bit of a wave on it though across the Midlands, and that producing some rain and drizzle around the South Pennines as we start the day, and that could linger into the middle of the day in these areas, clearing away from Wales, and a dry picture across Cumbria and the south of Scotland. A cooler air mass then is in existence behind that front. It's the front that's been around basically for a few days further north that's finally getting its act together and clearing through. We do then have some showers just around the western side of Scotland. Those are some snow above, say, 700 metres, bit of hail mixed in at times, most frequent around the coastal mountains. Go further inland and they're well scattered, and very few showers toward the eastern side of the Highlands. Pressure begins to build from the west. We head onwards into Thursday. The remnants of a front just away towards the south. Nothing really left on that. So it's a story of dry weather almost across the board for Thursday daytime. Not too much in the way of wind, although the northwest coastal mountains in Scotland may just see a strengthening southwesterly through the day. The main story then is one of some low-level fog and banks of low cloud. That a little bit of a mess in terms of where it forms, but may well just be breaking up to allow many mountains to be clear and a good amount of sunshine to be around. Temperatures then at or just below freezing point across the higher mountains, and you can expect a frost in the valleys and the glens in the morning as well. Just a quick look at the scope for fog, because this is according to one of the higher resolution forecast models that we use, and this is showing visibility, and essentially where you get the very darkest colours on this chart, it's very poor visibility, and we can substitute that for meaning fog. This is early on Thursday morning and fairly extensive, and maybe that all at various sorts of levels. But as we go onwards into the middle of the day, gradually that idea of fog will thin, break, and the sense that it's more low-level valley fog because of where the zones of dark blue are showing correspond more or less to where the low-lying terrain is. You can sort of pick out the central belt of Scotland across some of the valleys and the glens into the central highlands up towards the Great Glen, and also that little tongue coming down towards the Vale of Eden in northern England, and a few pockets located across mid and south Wales too. Now take that onwards into the afternoon and evening, and most of that fog does thin and break, but then as we head onwards into the night, it will all reform rather quickly for fog in many areas as we go through the night into the early hours of Friday. Pretty extensive then as we head onwards to Friday dawn. A few places may be escaping that. This fog could well get even up pretty high onto the mountains too. The inversion conditions not at the moment that convincing. Some high tops may just be above this fog, but it looks as though many areas just fill in with that murk. So that's the tricky bit with the forecast for Friday, just the extent to which that low-level fog lifts into banks of low cloud and whether any of the higher tops manage to get out of that at any point. Some places no doubt will, other places will be stuck in that fog most of the day, and where you're in the fog, both in the valleys and even higher up, temperatures will stay very much close to freezing point, so slight frost on the ground. Little wind, so not much to mix things up, not much to move things on. So that story that is around in the morning, chances are, is around much of the day. We do have a weak front which is trying to just nose its way into the west and north of the Highlands. It may just be enough to produce a bit of drizzly light rain, some bits of snow flurries across higher slopes across those coastal mountains. The extent to what this front gets in is questionable at this stage, not likely to extend much beyond those coastal fringes. So on balance, it's a dry day, but just maybe some snow flurries on the higher northwest Highlands. A slack pressure pattern leads to uncertainty as we go forwards. Often is the case in these sorts of situations that more than sort of 3 or 4 days down the line we're struggling to know exactly where the pattern moves to, because a slight variation will just tip the airflow in a slightly different direction. The consensus seems to be that we just drift into a gentle east by southeasterly heading towards the weekend. So again, it's a story of a lot of murk and low cloud, some fog at low levels, and maybe just a few drizzly showers coming in from the east and the southeast, the fewest of those the further west that you go. Just watching again what's left of that old front which lies just off the northwest coast of Scotland. Not too much wind, maybe a bit more mobility than on Friday, but not a windy day, and again it stays rather on the cool side. Temperatures around freezing point across the higher mountains, and where you're away from the murk overnight, touch of frost is likely. Treated pretty much with a pinch of salt in terms of just what the chart will look like by Sunday, but it's still a slack pressure pattern. There's still not a great deal going on. There may be a few bits of rain and the odd drizzly shower, maybe a snow flurry in there locally. Many places dry, still not too much wind, still a story of some low cloud and murk, and temperatures staying rather on the cool side. Not much more we can do with the weekend detail at this stage. A general story of being fairly quiet weather patterns, but one that may just be rather murky for many. Now, thinking onwards into next week, and we get to the start of December, and this just off one of the forecast models, just to try and get a rough feel for where things are going, and high pressure seems to want to be out just to the west of us in the early stages of the week. It may just drag in something a bit milder from the Atlantic for a day or so, maybe some fronts coming back into Scotland with some rain, preceded by a bit of snow across the higher mountains. Drier still under fairly high pressure the further south you are into England and Wales. But just as a bit of a tease maybe, if nothing else, this just towards the very end of this forecast model run, and this takes us to about the 3rd, 4th of December, the suggestion of something much colder coming around from the northwest. Now, you'd treat that chart with much caution at that distance, but just something there that's showing signs of a colder weather setup getting going. A view broadly of lower pressure being located near and just to our northeast, higher pressure being out just to the west of us is perhaps the best we can really judge at that point, but it does just open that door to the prospects of something colder developing in a week to 10 days. No promises with that one at this stage. We'll see how things develop and we'll keep you right up to date here in the video. As Emwis, thanks for watching. Bye for now.